Rory, you have to comment in person now. Can't just type it in. I want some pearls of wisdom. I love it when the students sit at the front, thank you.
I think. Recording.
Welcome everybody to Blockchain Week. We're here at YBF, and we've got a mic that's not working. We're here at YBF, and we are live on. About that. We're live on the Zoom as well as in person. We've got a fabulous audience. Thanks everybody for joining us. My name's Karen Cohen. I'm the Deputy Chair of Blockchain Australia, and I'm heading this panel that has been sponsored by our friends at Algorand Foundation. And we're very excited to share some of the projects that are actually building on the Algorand blockchain. And we've also got in the audience some wonderful students from South Australia who are building the tech. So we'd love to interview you guys a bit later about how you're finding it, so welcome. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather and meet today, pay my respects to elders past and present, and extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, people here today and on the Zoom. So welcome to YBF. Thank you to YBF for our sponsorship for today's event. I'm going to just hand over to Jason Lee, who is our the COO of Algorand in a minute, and he's going to tell us a bit about the project. And we also have with us Michael Cotton, who's the founder of Meld Gold. Michael's next to me. Phil Talbot, who's the founder of Authentium. And Shayne Hooper is the founder of SPI, which stands for Student Project Initiative, but now shortened to SPI. Is that right? Wonderful. If our audience has some questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A and we will endeavour to answer them in our short half an hour. So Jason, I'm going to hand over to you. If you could just share with us a little bit about the Algorand project and what's so exciting about it.
Thank you. Welcome everyone, quite a crowd here over here in Melbourne, and thanks to those who are part of Blockchain Week. Algorand Foundation has been pleased to be a sponsor for Blockchain Week. It shows our commitment into the Australian ecosystem, as well as reflected in our partners here over in Australia. So a bit about Algorand Foundation, or Algorand as a project itself. We are considered the new kids on the blockchain, officially launching our mainnet in 2019. A majority of other blockchain protocols came a bit earlier in the years. And I like to say that we learned from the best and sort of came up with a version that would work. And the original founder was Professor Silvio Michelli. He's a Turing Award winner, the Nobel Prize version of computer science. And he came in to solve what was known as the blockchain trilemma, which is the issue of how can blockchains protocols have security, scalability, and decentralization. And all our panelists here will explain how their project applies to this whole concept of solving the blockchain trilemma. And Professor Silvio came up with a way to do it. So I won't get too much into the technicals, but what we've done is that since 2019, we've got more than 500 partners along with us. Algorand has a native cryptocurrency, the Algo token, which is supported in the major cryptocurrencies. And my role as the COO for the foundation is to support with the running of our programs. We've got the ambassador program, accelerators, grants, bounty, a number of programs. What would be relevant would be some of our panelists here are recipients of the grants programs. Some of them have also received investment from our VC partners. And also, we're working together in collaboration with a number of things. So that's a quick summary of what Algorand is and what we've been doing in Australia, and there's more to come. Jack is here as well. Jack Zhang just came on board 2 weeks ago as our operations manager. I just came on board this year. So we are looking forward to see many more exciting activities over in Australia. All right, thanks.
Sorry, we're sharing the mic. I hope it's all COVID safe here, right? So just, you mentioned, Jason, about solving some of the blockchain problems. We talk about scalability, speed, security, decentralization. Do you want to talk a little bit about what are some of the problems that we find generally on the blockchain around those things, and how's Algorand hoping to solve some of that?
That's good, passing the mic. So I guess one thing we'll hear soon is beyond how it was from a very practical perspective. Algorand is really cost effective. From a transaction fee perspective, is 0.001 algo, and one algo today is about the US $1 or so mark. So it's very cost effective, and it's really fast as well, and very transparent. If you just search online the Algo Explorer, you'd see in real time the tokens that are on our Algorand platform, and it's represented by the ASA, or the Algorand Standard Asset. In fact, the Meld Gold token by Michael's an ASA, and sometimes you may see that pop up as part of the transaction. So not only it's cost effective, it's really fast as well. And the second part is that we're really committed towards decentralization. In fact, the foundation is on a very big initiative right now to allow all Algo token holders to commit to be governors into our platform, and then they're able to actually vote on the future projects and ecosystem resources in terms of how we will be spending our allocation, and that makes it very much of a community feel, and towards the support of journeying together in this journey towards decentralization, but also supporting projects with speed, scalability, security, in that commitment towards decentralization.
Thanks, Jason. That's really important. I think as we progress through from Bitcoin to other blockchain projects, we're really looking at what else can we do, how can we make it safer, how can we make it faster, how can we make it cheaper. And one of the things that, you know, in exploring about Algorand and some of the projects that are building on it, we're really hearing about how wonderful the support is from the team, the Algorand team, and how professional it is to work with the team when you do go onto the Algorand project. So I'm going to introduce Michael now. So Michael is the founder of Meld Gold. So that's somewhere between cryptocurrency and gold. I'll let you explain a little bit more about your project.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks everyone for coming today as well. So to give you a bit of an insight of Meld Gold, we have been building what I would call a hybrid between the traditional asset world and the digital asset world. So our version of that is not just decentralizing via tokenized gold, but also decentralizing access to that physical metal and how that physical metal is stored. So our end goal is, one, to streamline and digitize the entire supply chain, but also to have that gold distributed globally across a network of partners where that gold can be redeemed, deposited. You can go from in and out of the digital ecosystem to the physical ecosystem. You know, and for us, we see it as a long-term play where gold can play a role as an alternative currency once more to fiat. You know, the stability of gold has a really long track record of a stable price, and in terms of an alternative to fiat long-term, you know, gold has a really strong place as being used in an alternative currency for day-to-day usage, and Algorand allows those transactions to take place.
Just confirming everyone can hear Michael. Okay, so just tell me a bit about your project and where you are and your journey with Algorand so far.
So we took investment from Algorand Inc. Fairly early on, so we were self-funded up until that point. We actually approached Algorand because we really loved the tech behind it. You know, there's a lot of issues out there in terms of speed, cost, and long-term problems that are yet to still be solved, and Algorand really helped address a lot of those issues for us. So we worked with Algorand, we really loved the team. Working with the team was fantastic. They understood our proposition and we really appreciated the technology they developed. And so we partnered with them and they invested in Meld Gold. The product is live, so you can trade the gold, for example, on BTC Markets, one of Australia's largest exchanges. At the moment, we're also working with some of the largest gold businesses in the world. For example, MKS PAMP has joined the network, which is the largest gold trader on the planet, as well as people like Reyes, who's number 4 in the world, based out of Hong Kong. So we have been building out that network of the physical network, and this year the key focus is on the digital side and creating channels such as earning yield on gold and silver and other precious metals.
Fantastic. So I've got to ask you, Bitcoin or gold, what should we be buying?
Thank you. Look, they're different. I own both, so I sort of wouldn't say I'm for or against particular either. I think they have two very different roles. You know, again, probably talking back to the currency side, I think if you were to get your wages in gold, as a normal person, a day-to-day transaction, it actually makes a lot more sense to have some more stability to your actual holdings. So for a day-to-day currency as an alternative to traditional fiat, I think gold makes a huge amount of sense, whereas Bitcoin is an entirely different kettle of fish. So, you know, I do think they play very different roles, and I do think they belong in both investment portfolios. And I think the long-term outlook is quite different for the two, which gold playing a role as an alternative currency in terms of that stability makes a lot of sense.
So if I was to go onto your platform and order gold, would I get gold bars delivered to my house, or how would it work?
You can do either. So Meld Gold is actually a B2B business. We're not about servicing direct consumers. For us, we're about servicing the ecosystem, because what we really want to see is we want to see the ecosystem itself actually become the supporting decentralized physical network to this product. So what that looks like, for example, is bullion dealers globally becoming the on and off ramps to the digital ecosystem, where you can come and deposit gold, withdraw gold, and also transact in other currencies. You know, and the gold industry is really well poised to be that on and off ramp, not just for gold, but for other digital assets. You know, they traditionally are used to KYCs, AMLs, CTF, small margins, dealing with these kind of alternative currencies. It just traditionally has been precious metals. You know, I think that market is really poised to be a part of this next stage of, you know, independent physical bank branches for the ecosystem.
Fantastic. We had get paid in Bitcoin before. Maybe get paid in Bitcoin can have get paid in gold too. We can combine them. Adam's nodding. He likes it. All right. So thank you, Michael. It sounds like you've had a really good run with your project. Is it all live, and can we buy now? And yeah, how do we work with it?
Yeah, so you can buy now via BTC Markets for the digital. We're actually in beta testing up in Queensland with Imperial Gold, which is my original gold company, and we're also working with others to allow that physical component to take place. As of end of next month, you'll start to see more options in terms of transacting for physical and transacting live. So this year, you'll see a lot more opportunity within Australia. Australia we really see as our beachhead for that physical component. And then once we work through the Australian market, really understand that we're solving the right problems, complete digitizing the entire supply chain. So we have elements of the entire supply chain on board now and actually using the program. We'll then start to move more overseas and build out that physical network there.
Fantastic. It's so exciting. Gold on the blockchain. Fantastic. All right. So we're up to Phil. There you are. Phil is the founder of Authentium, which is a supply chain project, again, building on the Algorand on the Algorand blockchain. And he's won some funding as well from Algorand. So we'll get you to just list a little bit about where you're at with your project and how it's been for you.
Thanks, Karen, and thanks, Jason, for allowing me to be here. So Authentium is a very early stage project. The problem that we're trying to solve is how do we get a better return for primary producers for their products? My grandmother was a farmer in New Zealand. My mother was a farmer. I didn't choose to be a farmer, obviously, but you know, it's close to my heart about how many people around the world work and earn a living off the land, and they're exploited by very powerful centralized authorities, if you like supermarkets and so on. So what we're trying to do is to try and provide a different channel to market for primary producers. We've got a very innovative model. We've got a patent that was applied back in 2018. And at the moment we're in the build process. We'll be finished our first commercial release of our product in May. And in the second half of this year, we'll be doing some commercial trials with some fruit exporters, some meat exporters, and some, I guess, produce growers in Yarrawonga, sort of the Goulburn area. We're very fortunate. For those who are thinking about, you know, what platform do I choose and why would I choose Algorand? We applied to the Algorand Foundation for a grant, so we haven't gone down the path of you know, raising capital at this point. What we're doing is providing an open source technology, so everything we're going to build will be provided to the community. The sort of things that we're going to be doing, without going into too much details, we're going to be building all the technologies to make it very easy for developers to do atomic transfers, layer 1 smart contracts, layer 2 smart contracts, And all of these things that we'll be writing the code that talks directly to the blockchain and providing a very simple series of APIs. So if you want to get started, keep an eye on what we're doing. We'll have a GitHub up shortly, and it will allow anyone to take what we're building and allow other people in the community to do what we want to do around the world. So that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Sorry for the sharing. What is the actual problem that you're trying to solve? So you mentioned that the farmers have been exploited. How do you think that building supply chain on the blockchain is going to actually help the farmers?
So there's a couple of issues that farmers face. One is if you're a fruit grower in the Goulburn area, you're shipping out massive crates of produce. And of course, you know, as a consumer, you don't want to buy a big crate of whatever it is. So there's several issues. A typical farmer right now, he gets paid maybe 90 days from time the produce leaves his gate, if he gets paid at all. He's putting all his volume there. The price he's receiving for his produce is incredibly low. He's making very small margins. As you know, some people are having struggles just to get people to pick the fruit at the moment. So they're facing all sorts of pressures. And one of the things that we're trying to do is to provide a direct channel to market, which includes the packaging, that includes the delivery channel. So I won't go into details, but we're providing a very sophisticated logistics platform that will get the products from the gate to where they need to go, packaged. And the technology that we've developed is that the farmer will get paid immediately the goods are received by the person. So farmer's now getting potentially 2 to 3 times the price. He's getting paid within, let's say, a week. And so what will most likely happen is they might put 5 to 10% of their produce through this new channel to market, continue to put all their volume through their existing channel, and hopefully over time, the primary producer can increase the percentage of his total sales, not through the traditional centralized channels, but he can put that through a secondary market. And that whole decentralization part is what we're really, really passionate about, and trying to give primary producers essentially a different channel to market using blockchain.
Thank you. So if you're not going to be a farmer, you're going to be a tech guy, right? Cool. All right, thanks, Phil. That's really exciting to see some of the real use cases we've got for blockchain and the ability to build it on a decentralized platform and be able to share it, and other producers and farmers be able to jump on and join in, and won't have to program it themselves, right? So they'll be able to just jump on. Okay, going to move on to Shayne, founder of SPI, which is a student project initiative based in Adelaide. Shayne, tell us a bit about your story and what you've been doing.
Thank you, Karen. I think we're quite unique in this space in the fact that we are a student-based company and we're building in a student-based ecosystem. When I returned to Adelaide University, I had a vision to basically build a team of passionate and highly capable students. And by halfway through last year, we had achieved that. We have our developers here with us today. They've got a high credibility, these students. They've got a lot of awards. We have a couple of ducks. 3 of them are in internships now with big tech companies. They're working for the university. I'm very proud of everything that they've been able to achieve in this space so far. During that process of building this team, I met my co-founder, Shamir Caldry, who's with us today, who's very passionate about the blockchain industry. And we started discussing the viability of projects within the blockchain space. And while we were doing our research, we bumped into the Blockchain Acceleration Foundation, who was doing research into the education system and how blockchain might be able to be incubated more readily. And they were talking to a lot of American universities. Then we were lucky enough to get on their table. And it was found while we were doing their user case studies that the Australian university ecosystem is probably a better fit for trying to incubate education technologies of blockchain into the mainstream and to spread it globally, starting from Australia. So what we did then was basically go through a number of different protocols to look at how we might develop what was defined by the Gates Foundation as a next generation learning platform. And so basically what that looks like from the Gates Foundation perspective is something that has the interoperability to be able to go globally and interact with all the different education systems that are available in different universities. So we're looking at a number of different protocols, and the research that was conducted by the Blockchain Acceleration Foundation highlighted that the Algorand blockchain is specific had that ability to be able to scale us globally. It also gave us the ability to be able to, it also gives us, because we're a student-based company in a student-based ecosystem, ethics are an important part of what we're trying to build here. And the Algorand blockchain allows us to hit on a number of the points that professors especially are concerned with, such as the power consumption of blockchain protocols. It's a very efficient way to be able to do transactions on a global scale. Also, the fact that everybody is able to partake in consensus is also a really important part of what students want to see. Obviously, the 10-year decentralization plan is an important part of the ethics there. So basically what we started to build now is a platform that allows us to build apps that empower professors and students with blockchain features, such as the features that we're giving to students. Such as the features that we're giving to student-based clubs in their governance structures, like fraud-free elections. So we noticed that as we were getting feedback and doing our research, that we were talking to a lot of student clubs, and managing clubs wasn't easy, and there were tools available, but particularly in voting, they were struggling with maintaining credibility in their election process. So that's something that blockchain allows us to do, and that's part of our growth strategy is a bottom-up strategy with student-based clubs. So we get a lot of user growth from there. But our main focus is with professors, and what we notice from receiving feedback from both professors in Adelaide and also professors here in Melbourne is that there seems to be sometimes there can be a lack of trust between government agencies and ombudsman agencies and professors, because the professors are able, the government sees it that professors can generate their own feedback, they can generate their own information and basically deliver to ombudsman bodies and government bodies whatever they like. So we're now becoming a layer of trust in between professors and government, so that student feedback is now basically verifiable and credible on the blockchain, so that the professors can now have that solid foundation of trust with government and ombudsman's bodies. This is going to continue to grow. So this is moving forward to credentialing for degree verification. We're looking at options for NFT to encourage better behavior from students, like rewarding students with NFT badges. And also we're looking at ambassador programs and tutorials, because this is an open source platform that other students can build upon. So our main focus at the moment is basically getting feedback from as many professors as we can. We've got a great advisory board that we're building at the moment with industry-leading professionals. We're getting more and more from Melbourne, which is why we're here today, because we're very interested in the fact that Melbourne is leading this space in terms of the education and credentialing here in Australia. So yes, I'm very proud of what we've been able to achieve.
It's fantastic, a student-led project about students, which is fabulous. And I think there's some fantastic use cases there. You've got your elections on the blockchain, which, despite lots of money, nobody's really been able to solve till now. So we could have a really simple solution with you guys doing it. And credentialing, which we know is a massive one. And there'll be a race, I think, to global credentialing. So hopefully your project will get it out of the ballpark, guys. No pressure on the programmers there in the front. So this is really an exciting time, seeing these use cases being built in real life on the blockchain, and seeing, not just talking about it, we're actually building something, which is what we're all about. And I've personally been quite frustrated, because I feel like we're always talking about what can we build, why are we building it, but here are 3 really fantastic use cases that are being built. Tell me, Jason, a bit about the fund and how do you access that fund to build more?
Yeah, I just want to say, back in, I think, 2018, Karen was with me. I was in an interview with Sky News, and the person asked, is there any actual use cases on blockchain? And I remember fumbling a bit. I said, hey, give it a few years, things would happen. And I'm actually really proud to see these are actual use cases that are happening, in the Go industry, education, in supply chain, and beyond that as well. And talking about the fund itself, it's all transparent. If you just Google Algorand Foundation Grants Program, it's all available there. These people have received funding into their bank accounts or their Algorand wallet. It's legit, so it's not just is it real or not. And I'm here in person, in flesh. You can pinch me later to see if I'm real. Jack as well. So we support companies and organizations who want to build on the Algorand ecosystem. And the reason as a foundation we are providing grants is because we support and advocate the growth of the blockchain ecosystem, not just for commercial companies, but for even non-profits and education institutions as well. In fact, I want to acknowledge Professor Joseph Liu is there from the Monash Blockchain Technology Center. And we're working on a few initiatives together, as well as the students who have flew all the way. In fact, you may not know, Michael is from Queensland, Shayne's from South Australia. We've got a few here in Melbourne itself. So we're across the entire Australian coast, and we're looking to build more relationships across. But the fund is available and it's open. So just come, you can either come to me directly or to the website. It's all ready with the templates and the terms and conditions. But we're here to essentially journey together with you.
Thanks for that. I'm just going to ask which of you in the panel would like to answer this question. What's your vision for blockchain technology in the future and getting mainstream acceptance? Shayne, you look like you want to answer that.
Look, the reason why I'm here and why I started doing this project in the first place, and for those of you that are watching it and who might not know an incredible amount about blockchain, this technology is just not going to go anywhere. You can't get rid of blockchain. I see a future for humanity where when we're still here in 500 or 1,000 years, we're still using blockchain and it's still mainstream. This is the first big event we've had in Australia, Blockchain Week here, which just shows how young the industry is. I mean, I think there are a lot of people out there that feel like they've missed the boat just watching Bitcoin prices going like skyrocketing. But I don't see that being the case at all. I think we're just getting started here. And I'm excited to be here. That's why I'm here, because I know that my children are going to be using blockchain. Their children are going to be using blockchain. And in terms of just like, I mean, the topic of this discussion is the borderless economy. I mean, the small person is just finding it so hard to play a part in the economy now. And technologies such as the Algorand blockchain allow us to be able to move away from a lot of the bureaucracy that's stopping the small guy from trading internationally, which is why I'm really passionate about this, because I feel like technologies like this are giving opportunities to the small guy to participate in what has thus far been an increasingly more difficult economy to partake in. So that's why I'm really passionate about the space. That's why I'm here today. That's why we're building on.
Yeah, sure, I'll have a crack. Look, I think the really big part too is there is such a huge opportunity in terms of how many people have adopted and are actually participating in blockchain. And there's a massive gap. You know, we've really seen a tiny fraction of the marketplace actually participate. If you actually then look at how many of those people understand what they're participating in, I think the number gets even smaller. You know, I think real use cases is a really great demonstration to the marketplace who doesn't quite understand blockchain as to where its relevance lies. You know, so I see many great projects coming to blockchain, which we are seeing. I think we'll get more understanding from the public. And I think from Meld Gold's side, you know, the idea of bringing a traditional asset onto blockchain, where you could go and buy a coffee with gold, you could go and actually save and invest with gold in a really streamlined, sophisticated, trustless process, is a really great example of how we can get people to understand what the use case is. And for us, then that ability for people via a bullion dealer to come in and actually have their first interaction with blockchain with a business that might have been independently established 50 years ago, locally in person, is a really great way to start removing some of those barriers to market. You know, I think it's going to be a really evolving market, but I think some of these first steps are really great ways to start getting those that aren't involved in the space into the space.
Fantastic.
I think I just really want to make a comment about where I see things in the future. I think right now, the onboarding and offboarding, on-ramping, how you get your money from one place into the ecosystem, that's a challenge for a lot of people. I think, secondly, the day I grew up, I'm showing my age here, but, you know, pre-internet boom, I've seen, you know, the internet when it started out, I've seen the tech crash. I saw 2008, obviously. And what I've seen is that we're right now on the infrastructure layer build. So what most projects are about is actually building the infrastructure to support applications. And I think until we get applications which abstract out the need to have private key management and all that, because you talk a private key to a driver, what are you talking about? And I think one of the real benefits of Algorand is some of the partnerships that they have. For example, Acon, they're a Algorand ecosystem player. They take care of all your private key management. So you can sign them with Google, you can sign them with Facebook without having to worry about that we have your private keys. In this case, that's really important. So I'm excited about the future when we get to the point where we're not all talking about blockchain. We don't actually we don't talk about the routers these days. We don't talk about the routers. We talk about, I was able to do this, I was able to do that. And this is what I'm most excited about is in 2 to 3 years, we're going to start to see consumer applications which don't even talk about blockchain. And that's what I'm passionate about, when we can get to the point where, you know, mums and dads don't need to even concern themselves with losing their private key. And I think we all know what that means if we lose the private key. We've heard some interesting stories. So yeah, that's my little take on it.
Okay, we're coming to the end of our session on Zoom, but we will stay in the room for any room questions. I just want to say thank you to our panel, Jason, Phil, Michael, Shayne. Fantastic examples of building real use case on the blockchain. And I and Adriana, my block sister in Sydney, we're community champions for Algorand. So if you've got any questions, want to run some events, want to do some promotion, want to find out about the fund, do come and see us and Jason. We intend to have a very strong presence here in Australia. So.